Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm Jon Ralston. Senator Chris Dodd, who's running for president. He's from Connecticut, but he's here in the western state of Nevada, and he's traveling to Pahrump tonight. We'll talk to him about that a little later. Real quickly, this whole issue, one of the focuses of Dick Cheney's speech today was this whole notion that I know you're interested in of executive versus legislative power, whether Congress is trying to micromanage this war. I mean, put yourself in President Bush's position. It's a position you want to put yourself in. And what if Congress was trying to, in their eyes, interfere with their management of the war? Where do you draw the line?
Well, before you get to the legal questions here, a lot of this gets resolved if you have a working relationship with each other. I've spent 26 years in the Senate. I know my colleagues well. One of the things I bring to this race for the presidency is that experience. I know these individuals. If I had a meeting on the night after I'm sworn in as president with John Warner from Virginia, Thad Cochran of Mississippi, Ted Kennedy of Massachusetts, Tom Harkin, Harry Reid of Nevada, along with Olympia Snowe, for instance, senators, all of them. I've known them for 30 years. I'm not meeting for the first time, sitting down, facing each other, questioning what each other's motives are.
Do they all like you? I hear familiarity can breed contempt, too.
No, I have a good relationship.
Okay.
I've been able to bring them together on a lot of different issues over the years. My point is that this is not a time for on-the-job training. And George Bush, with all due respect, came to town pretty much without the kind of background experience I think he needed for this job.
Same thing could have been said of Bill Clinton when he was elected.
Well, different people handle it differently, and ultimately the president got to know people well and worked with people well. This president has not. And so first and foremost, having a relationship there where people trust you, that you trust them and you listen to them, so you don't find yourself in the kind of situation the president finds himself in today. Had there been a better working relationship, more respect for that co-equal branch of government, where you need to work with them, even as angry as you get with them, you're not going to get much done if it's a hostile relationship. This country, John, is so exhausted of this 51-49 split in the country. We're desperate for leadership that George Bush promised. I'll be a uniter, not a divider, in his inaugural address in 2001. That has not happened. And we're desperate for leadership in the country that really works at that, bringing people together.
Couldn't the argument then be made, and I think you're right in everything you just said, but that leadership needs to come from the outside, not from a guy who's been in Washington, D.C. for a quarter century plus. We need an outsider with a fresh perspective.
Well, that's an argument you hear, but also, as I say, this is not a time for on-the-job training. That argument, I think, would have made my candidacy, would have disqualified me in almost any election in the past, saying I'm at 26 years in the Senate. This time around, I think people are saying, you know what? I think it maybe is time that we have someone with experience who brings hope and optimism and confidence, who knows how to do this. I've taken democratic principles and made them national policies. When I wrote the Family and Medical Leave Act, the child care legislation, election reform, financial institutions, in every instance, I was able to bring a senior conservative Republican to my side to work on the issue and watch it become law. That's what I think people are anxious for. Get the job done. We're tired of the talk. People don't know how to do that. I think are going to do better this time than we have historically in the past.
One thing I think the American people also think that Congress is not getting the job done on is immigration, illegal immigration. The president of the Congress has not been able to pass anything. You're meeting in Nevada, you're going to Pahrump, which you may or may not know has been a hotbed of anti-illegal immigration activity. They've tried to pass local ordinances. You're going to meet with Hispanic activists also. You've talked a lot about immigration reform. Let me show you what you said in a statement following the president's speech on immigration reform earlier this month. I agree with the president's stated goal of achieving comprehensive immigration reform this year. With over 12 million undocumented workers in our country, the American people expect Congress and this administration to find a workable solution to this long-standing problem, one that protects American jobs and security while providing a pathway to earn citizenship for undocumented workers, many of whom play an important role in our economy. I've covered politics for 20 years, not quite as long as you've been around, but I have never seen a debate with more highly charged verbiage. Path to citizenship means one thing to one person another. The whole concept of amnesty. I mean, you may define amnesty a lot differently than other people will. Where is the common ground on this issue, Senator?
Well, that's a hard question because it is volatile. It's very emotional. As we've seen already. You've heard me be very critical of the president in our conversation so far. In this one area, I think the president's on the right track. And my hope is that he'll stick with this now, particularly during these spring months and summer months, before it gets too far down the road. And the closer we get to the elections, the harder this issue is to deal with emotionally because of the volatility of the issue. But I think generally his framework makes sense. Clearly security is essential, and we're going to have to do whatever we can do to make our borders more secure. We also need to seek cooperation on the other side. You want to get more secure borders. It isn't just what we do on this side of the border, but the cooperation we get on the others. I've chaired that interparliamentary meeting with Mexico for 26 years. Immigration is a huge issue for them as it is for us. We need to really work on that side of it. Secondly, we need to have stiffer penalties, in my view, on employers who knowingly hire undocumented workers here. I can't think of a quicker way. The word will go back, I promise you, almost instantaneously. If they know the jobs aren't here because the employers are not hiring them, nothing will do more to slow down that flow, in my view, than that. If you know you're not going to be able to have that job, you think you're going to be able to get here. I'm for a limited guest worker program, and I say that. I think this city here where we're speaking today, you can make a case in certain instances where that may be necessary, in certain agricultural sectors. I'm not for a total across-the-board guest worker program. Provide the wages and salaries, working conditions. Americans will fill those jobs, not at $5 an hour, but they will at $7 or $8 an hour. So that needs to be done.
I'm going to let you finish up talking about immigration. We have to take one more break.
I'm sorry.
Before we come back with Senator Chris Dodd, and Face to Face returns.